This year, for the Pass the Wire annual seminar, we're going to change things up. Why? For you. Everything I cover in the seminars in a clear, concise PDF you can download, print, read off your device, anything you like. Everything, and I mean everything that we cover in the seminars right at your fingertips. Nobody does it better. And if that's not enough, if you join and ride with me, a private, members-only Q&A where you can ask anything about the Breeders' Cup, get answers, and sharpen your play. Secure your spot at PassTheWire.com and try and make this your best Breeders' Cup ever. I'm surely going to try and make it mine.
Very good Sunday morning to you. Sunday morning coffee on Pass the Wire TV. I am Big Race Jim, presented to you each week by AmWager, Shore Bet Coffee, Pleasant Acres. Thank you to our fantastic sponsors that allow me and the Pass the Wire team to do this just about every week. I know I missed a couple a few weeks ago. Was kind of not following the races those 2 weekends, was busy with some family activities, but we came back last week. We're back this week, and we're going to watch some replays from Aqueduct, and we'll get a good sense of how the Breeders' Cup is shaping up in the next couple of weeks. And I was on the phone with my dad earlier this week, and went to favorites a couple of times. We were talking about that last week. And he was asking me where Mindframe is going to show up, because Mindframe lost the rider in, was it the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga on that closing weekend. And I know Todd had said that he was trying to find a spot, but I don't think he is going to run anywhere before the Breeders' Cup. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I think that unfortunately might be the case, where he's just going to train up to the Breeders' Cup now. But we'll see. And I know that's been a thing, right? And we'll talk about that with the Woodward here that had 3 horses. That a lot of these horses are training up to the Breeders' Cup. They train, we'll use the 3-year-olds as an example, or even a couple of older horses, right? They train for that first Saturday in May, that big Kentucky Derby weekend, or some stakes races around there. And then they'll train up to Belmont weekend, and then they'll train up for a different stake over the summer, and then they'll train up to the Breeders' Cup. And we're seeing them not train up, like they'll run to get ready for that Kentucky Derby weekend or something in that time frame. But then it's train up, train up, train up, train up, and we're seeing them 4, maybe 5 times a year, and that's a little disappointing. But if you look at the Breeders' Cup Classic and who potentially might be there, I mean, that could be the race of the century. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there's some pretty decent horses in there that should shape up for a pretty fun and exciting race in the middle of that that Breeders' Cup Saturday. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at this turf sprint stakes yesterday at the Big A.
All set. And they're off.
a pretty even
Fastest
break.
speed is Dancing Buck right out towards the
One
front.
didn't
Second
show
is
one
Dancing
didn't show
Slow,
very
and they're
much
head and head
speed.
as they work
This
into the
Dancing
stretch. Just
Buck
off of them, close up.
was pretty high
Allegon
on.
settled
Thought
third.
it had
He's
a
actually
good
trying to stay
shot
in
to
behind the duo
wire
leader.
the
Trying to
field.
lock in, but it's
I don't
going
know. It
pretty
looked
wide.
like they just had to
Backstretch.
get into him a
Limited
little
Live
bit
up the rail is now challenging fourth.
too much
6 is
early,
in between horses in fifth. Outwider comes from a
um,
furious run.
which
Nicely
was
ridden and trailing
not
Bold Journey.
ideal
52 seconds
in
flat.
my
The
view.
opening
And
quarter
again,
mile.
when we're watching
Dancing Buck
replays, like
starts the sprint for
I
home.
might see something
Full pursuit.
that you
Allegon
don't
now ranged up on
necessarily
the
see,
outside. Here comes Allegon
and
3 wide.
vice
Keep high,
versa.
live low is at the rail of
And as they
Sumdalong.
come
26 black,
around
still majorly ridden fast to the
the
top of that line.
turn
As they
here,
get set to reach the top of the lane,
you'd have
Dancing Buck is
liked
trying to win it right now. Has been
would
on
have
the
liked to
edges
see
throughout.
him kick away a
Allegon's in pursuit.
little
26
bit
black is
better
following that move. But
as
Allegon center of
he's
the
done in
course
the
is hanging
past.
on. Bold Journey is on the same
But
lead too. It's a
that
sprint
didn't
walk.
happen,
Bold
and
Journey
he
with all
gets
the
swallowed
momentum in
up.
between horses splitting the seam. Allegon is in front. There's a nose advantage. Bold Journey trying to catch
Good
that
fun
leader.
race
It's going to
though
be tight here at the line, but give it to
when
Allegon.
this
Allegon wins
four
the
gets
Belmont
there.
Turf Sprint.
One
Right there,
word on
Bold Journey
that
catching second in
Senbei,
a
that
3-horse photo.
three.
That was
A
Pleasant
couple
Acres
years
Stallion with Senbei
ago, I
and Dancing
think
Buck. In 1 minute
was
7.63.
the was it the 2-year-old? It was like the 2-year-old. I don't know. She won some New York bred trophy. It was like a New York bred of the year for some surface and distance. So quality horse, ran okay there. But yeah, Dancing Buck, I feel like should have took it to that field and just didn't. And you kind of got a sense early on that they were asking the horse for a little bit more than it wanted to give early on in the race, and I feel like that showed up a handful of furlongs later, as it kind kind of wilted there, and that was ultimately pretty disappointing. Who else was in this next one? Let's see if we can share this again. Yeah, let's check out the Joe Hirsch.
Hirsch Turf Classic. All set. And they're off.
Yeah, they got a mile and a half to go.
Speed, but will be taken back now. A tight hold with redistricting to assume command.
So
Rebels Romance is right there.
pretty pretty easy pace as it is with most of New York turf racing nowadays. Oh, what was this like? Look at them; they're just like absolutely crawling. And I don't think I like redistricting here. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but I don't think Rebels Romance gets nearly enough credit, and maybe it's because there hasn't been like an all U.S. based campaign, but this horse is like unbelievable, and if he wins a third Breeders' Cup, like that would be that would be all time. But pretty impressive that he just kind of went on the lead here. Normally he's up close, but and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't recall ever seeing him out on the front, but perhaps slower pace, only 5 horses in here. So perhaps that was a tactic, but pretty impressive from Rebels Romance to take it to this field and
Redistricting is back within
and
half
win
length of the leader.
this
Far
race.
Bridge is a presence towards the inside, just waiting for the cue. El Cordobés is called upon for the effort. Rebel Red is about to cut loose from the back end of the field. Rebels Romance is now sprinting for home. Rebels Romance is trying to opening up and just is doing that. It's Rebels Romance who's clear. El Cordobés redistricting. Far Bridge.
These are good horses.
Romance just opening up on this great
These are all
has
good, really good horses.
No
Graded
doubt
stakes
it would be
winners,
Rebels
and he
Romance
just buried
dominant in
them.
the Grade
Like,
1
look at
Woodward Turf
that.
Classic. Rebels Romance wins it easily.
I mean,
Redistricting second, then Kim.
he's going to be another bear in the Breeders' Cup,
minutes,
and
25,
that is going to
2,
be
give it to Rebels.
insanely exciting. And I think an opportunity for horse racing to do some sort of marketing that this horse is excuse me, this horse is trying to make history. I mean, that was impressive. Super impressive. Super impressive. All right, let's check out the Woodward. Nobody in this race.
And they're off.
But
Phileas Fogg flew out of the gate and locked is also
a little bit exciting. I mean, that's a good tactic, right?
Well clear. He's
Phileas Fogg, we know, wanted to go out.
Starts to move in closer to the
Not really sure why they're super wide.
It's Phileas Fogg who's alone up top, free running, and is
but
by a quick 4. Lock is
really should have,
who's the trailer as they're working around
been on the lead like we know that this horse likes to do, and set a decent pace. I mean, you're going almost 25 seconds flat into the first quarter. That wide turn though is going to come back and rear its head here soon, as we know. Locked gets the money here. But once this race wraps up, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to have some thoughts, maybe some controversial thoughts on what to do with these three horse fields that we tend to see on both coasts.
They're well into the turn. Phileas Fogg is the target, but still a confident Carmouche has him in hand. Carmouche takes another look back. Phileas Fogg is approaching a quarter mile left to go. Locked is all in towards the inside. Post time is trying to rally onto the outside. 112 flat for 3/4. And now Phileas Fogg has asked for his full effort. Phileas Fogg and Locked
right.
is
Again, like here, you're like, okay, this horse is going to win.
Rival down up for long left to go. Phileas Fogg gets closer to the rail, and now Locked will have to switch paths, and Locked is in full pursuit. He is locked in now. Locked to the outside to push on by. Locked wins the Grade 2 Woodward.
Maybe that wide, you're in like the 6 or 7 path going into that first turn. Maybe that did him in there. You saw Carmouche go in towards the rail to, do a little race tactics, which, I'm fine with. But Locked is a quality horse, right? He had a lot of momentum, and he was able to run him down, and actually pretty decent final time. That's pretty good for how slow it was early on. So impressive by Locked. So all good there. All right, we'll take a quick break, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about that race and other races that we see these, super short fields. And I have an interesting thought that I want to share. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I know you guys will all tell me one way or the other in the comments.
This year, for the Pass the Wire annual seminar, we're going to change things up. Why? For you. Everything I cover in the seminars in a clear, concise PDF you can download, print, read off your device, anything you like. Everything, and I mean everything that we cover in the seminars, right at your fingertips. Nobody does it better. And if that's not enough, if you join and ride with me, a private, members-only Q&A where you can ask anything about the Breeders' Cup, get answers, and sharpen your play. Secure your spot at PassTheWire.com and try and make this your best Breeders' Cup ever. I'm surely going to try and make it mine.
That sounds pretty good to me. Best Breeders' Cup ever. Everything right at your fingertips. If you haven't secured your seat in that live Q&A, do so now. All right. I think the purses should be adjusted depending on how many horses show up in each race. So using the Woodward yesterday as an example, how many entries did we have in that race originally? 6, I think, and then half the field scratched because they ran somewhere else. So we ended up with 3. I'm not sure exactly how you'd want to structure it, but seeing as though half that field scratched, I think that purse should have been cut in half. And they should have ran for what? $150,000 as opposed to $300,000. And I wonder if that would, and I know the argument is going to be like, well, you're punishing the horses and the owners that are racing. And that very well is true. Is true. But perhaps that puts a little bit more pressure on the racing office and the other owners and trainers to not enter horses that they know aren't going to run. And I know the counter argument to that is, well, Jim, you look at the condition book, the big complaint from trainers over the last decade is that the options for running for certain horses is getting less and less. There just are not enough conditions for horses to run as much as they would like. And maybe that's true. But I think we need to apply pressure to different groups within the industry to get some change. And it's one thing if only 4 horses are entered and 1 scratches. It's totally different in my view if 6 or 7 horses are entered and 3 of them or 4 of them scratch. My thing is that if 25% of the field scratches, there needs to be some sort of financial reduction. Maybe not 25, maybe 35, 30. I don't know what it is, but there should be tiers that if a certain percentage of horses scratch out of a race, that the purse needs to be adjusted. And I'm sure I'll get some hate for that, and that's totally fine. But I think that would apply some pressure on the racing office. It would apply pressure on owners and trainers, and I think collectively it might make the entry box a little bit more of a sacred thing, and it feels like it hasn't been for the last couple of years. And I get sometimes we'll see races with like 4 also eligibles and a couple of MTOs. And I'm not talking about that. Like if there's a surface change or something like that, then whatever, right? But is it fair? Even like as I'm talking about this, you have like a turf race that comes off and runs on a muddy track for 85 grand, and it scratches from what would have been a 12 horse field to a 4 horse field, and those 4 horses are going to collect a check just for running because there aren't enough horses to spread the money around. Like I don't know that. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that because you need the owners and trainers need the money to keep the wheels turning. I get that, but there needs to be a little bit more pressure on the racing office, I think. And in my mind, this might be an interesting way to do that. And I'm sure the big argument is going to be, well, the people that are running are getting penalized. And that very well may be true as I'm thinking about this more as we're talking. But I'd be open to other ideas. I think though, like that all needs to be adjusted somehow, and see see what happens. But seriously though, like they ran for $300,000 yesterday, 3 horses, and Blocked got 175,000 of it for beating 2 horses. I don't know. This seems a little goofy to me. I don't know what the answer is, but there's a potential answer right there. Anyway, that's it for me. Little rambling on a Sunday morning, but Rebels Romance, that horse needs to get a ton of respect, and going for a 3rd Breeders' Cup, which would be very, very exciting to see, and I'll be rooting for him. Have a great week. Sunday morning coffee only on Past the Wire TV. Big Race Gym brought to you each week by AmWager, SureBet Coffee, and Pleasant Acres. We'll see you on Sunday.
Go.
It's simplification and Javier. Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final for sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.